I see you're probably all ready to get through these last sections, the great presentations. But first, we have something new this year at HoTSoS. We actually have a certificate for the best poster. So Carl and I went around, looked at all the posters, abstracts, the poster itself, and went through them. There was a lot. There were 26, and they're really outstanding. We were looking at the things that you would expect in a good, high-quality poster: clarity, good scientific method, and impact. And definitely had influence from the yesterday's presentation on what good science communication is. So you could definitely see those results in the poster. So that was really great. I guess I should announce it.
You should announce it.
All right. The winning poster is The Guardian Capable? Written by a group of researchers at University of Maryland, Michael Becker, Michelle Couquier, and David Merriam.
Michael is in class.
So apparently the grad student's in class, but
yeah.
Amy, you want a picture? Oh, I guess I should be shaking your hand or something. This poster was on, looking at how adversaries behave inside of a botnet. And things we really liked about it was it had specific research questions, and then you showed how you process the data, preliminary results, conclusions, and limitations of the results. And as a result, that was good for communications and very good at clarity. And we think the impact is that it can actually lead to research that really helps guide system administrators who are setting up systems to actually tailor stuff towards adversary behavior, not just what we think, but having scientific evidence on what they actually do. Well, congratulations.
Thank you.
And I think I turn it over to Lori.
So we'll just talk a minute about HoTSoS 2018. So we'll be having it in Raleigh. So before we talk about HoTSoS, just want to do a shout out to all the NC Staters here and our alumni. We have a couple alumni in there too. So we're proud of our team. So thanks to everyone for coming. It will be in Raleigh. It will be in April to try to keep it the same as it's been the last few years. We need to get the hotel. So that's something that we don't. So we don't have the hotel or the dates yet. We do have the team, so Minender and I are going to be the co-general chairs, and Taushe, right there. Now, we'll be on our team, and he'll be recruiting another co-chair. And then Katie is in the back. She'll be working with us again on the arrangements. So that's all we have to say, but we look forward to seeing all of you next year.
And we'll take suggestions for improvements to the program or other ideas that you have.
Yes, that's great. So please send us any ideas you have for the program. And if you'd love to volunteer, we'd love to know that too. All right, thank you.
Thank you.
So today we have, this afternoon after lunch, first paper is on global variation in attack encounters and hosting. And it leverages one of the comments I made yesterday about how much HoTSoS and the entire community built and expanded and so on, because this paper will be presented from someone who comes from far, far away from Rabat. All yours.
Okay. So thank you very much for coming to my talk right after lunch. I appreciate it. So my name is Ghita Mezzour. As I said, I came from Morocco to talk to you about global variation in attack encounters and hosting. This is joint work with Kathleen Carley and Rick Carley at Carnegie Mellon. So first, I want to remind you that cybersecurity is inherently an international problem. if any country in the world has an environment that's conducive to cybercrime will flourish in that country, and this will have global repercussions. Cybersecurity is not just an American problem, it's really international. So it would be important to identify countries that are conducive to cybercrime. It's even more important to understand why are these countries conducive to cybercrime? What are the social and technological factors that are making these countries conducive to cybercrime? Because if we know these factors, then we have an opportunity to alter them, maybe through policy action. This will reduce cybercrime in these countries and have a global impact. So research question. So the research question we worked on is what are the social and technological factors that make countries to become conducive to cybercrime. The approach we take is empirical hypothesis testing, which is the approach that's prescribed in the science of security imperative. And we look at two types of attack fostering. The first one is attack hosting. Attack hosting is the likelihood that computers in a country are hosting and launching attacks. I'm not looking at whether people are launching attacks. It's really whether computers are malicious and hosting and launching attacks. I'm also looking at attack encounters. And the reason why we're looking at attack encounters is as computers encounter a lot of attacks, these computers are more likely to become infected and to start launching attacks themselves. So now I'm going to go through some background that I will use to draw hypotheses about factors that may cause countries to become conducive to cybercrime. So first, I'll look at attack encounters. And here, I will draw from theories developed for offline crime, like probability of being mapped in the street. This is not theories that were developed about cybercrime, and I will test whether these hypotheses do apply to cybercrime. So victimization theories says that the probability of encountering cybercrime is merely a function of victims' behavior. And there are mainly four factors that affect that. The first one is exposure. If the victim is walking alone at night, the victim is more likely to encounter attacks than if the victim goes to bed early. The second factor is guardianship. If there are police or security guards around, the victim is less likely to encounter crime. The third one is physical proximity to attackers. So basically, if the person is walking in these rough neighborhoods, the person is more likely to encounter crime. The last one is attack targetedness. If the victim is showing off all this jewelry and this rich stuff, then the victim is more likely to be robbed, basically. So these are these are theories developed for offline crime. Now we're going to look at attack hosting. Again, the likelihood that computers are used to host crime. So in order to host crimes, attackers could either use compromised computers. And we know that computers are more likely to become compromised when they encounter attacks. So we expect attack encounters to increase the likelihood of seeing this compromised computer. These are just hypotheses at this stage. I'm not telling you the truth, kind of. Attackers could also use dedicated malicious computers. These are computers that are set up exclusively to host and launch attacks. These attackers could host them within these rogue, bulletproof hosting services. And we expect, again, that these rogue ISPs are more likely to show up when there is a lot of corruption, because corruption is known to encourage crime. They could also, there is at least evidence that they were actually hosted also using honest hosting services, like the hosting services we all use, as long as these hosting services are unaware of the malicious activities going on. We also expect that attackers prefer using fast computers and that have good internet bandwidth to host their attacks. We also expect security expertise to play a role, because security experts might be, again, this hypothesis might be better at protecting their computers and preventing them from being compromised. And on the flip side, security experts or other types of security experts might be better at setting up malicious computers that don't get caught. So security expertise might play a role. now going to present the data I used to test this hypothesis. So the first data is the semantic intrusion prevention system telemetry data. So this is part of the WINE platform. And it covers data from 10 million semantic customers around the world. So these are actual customers. These are not just honeypots. So the data is a bit old. And it covers mainly network attacks, like web attacks, fake applications, and exploits. So I'm just going to explain briefly how this data works. So assume there is an attacker computer that launched an attack on one of these computers that are protected by semantic IPS. The semantic IPS will block the attack and send an attack report to semantic. The attack report will contain the attack name, the IP address of the attacker, the IP address of the victim. And from the IP addresses, it's possible to go to countries using IP geolocation. And it's important to know that IP spoofing is not a major problem here, mainly because the data contains TCP data that's not denial of service. And when TCP is used, it's hard for an attacker to guess sequence numbers if the attacker is not on the path. So IP spoofing is not a big deal for this analysis. So from that data, I extract measures of attack exposure and attack hosting. My measure of attack exposure is the number of attack encounters by these semantic protected computers divided by the number of the semantic protected computers in a country. So here, we assume this toy example, these two computers encounter 3 attacks, so the exposure measure would be 3 by 2. And the reason I use this scaling is to allow a fair comparison across a country. So some countries have way more of these computers than others, and the only way to have a fair comparison is to actually scale by the number of these computers. The measure of attack hosting is similar. It's the number of attacks launched by these computers divided by the number of computers. So now I will show the measures. I was talking to you about all the social and technological factors, country characteristics. So these are how I kind of measure them. The first one is exposure. So if you remember, exposure is the accessibility of victims to attackers. So here I use the web hits measure, which is the number of unique web pages visited by a user in a country. So this is data I used from this previous work. We actually used data from Symantec about customers who willingly shared their browsing data with Symantec. So they give me just aggregate data, this kind of averages. For guardianship, I used the binary variable about the existence of cybersecurity institutions like CERT in a country. Physical proximity to attackers, I consider this is not relevant just because cyber attacks don't have a problem crossing physical distances. Target attractiveness is like, would attackers be excited to kind of have these computers hacked? So I used the 2 measures, ICT index, which is a combined index of how strong is the IT infrastructure in a country. So this is a measure that's given by the ITU. I also use the GDP per capita. So these 2 measures will actually have a correlation of 0.9, so I end up just using one of them, the ICT index. Now the country characteristics that according to a hypothesis might affect attack hosting, again computer and internet speed, the same ICT index, security expertise, again the same index. For corruption, I used the bribes index from the World Economic Forum. And this bribes index is actually such that the index is low when there is a lot of corruption. And for attack encounters, I used my own attack exposure measure that I presented earlier. Okay, so hypothesis, data, let's look at some results. Let's look at what do we see when we look at attack encounters. So this map shows the average number of web attacks encountered by a computer in each country. For web attacks, one type of the attacks I presented earlier. So we can clearly see that developed countries encounter way more of these attacks than other countries. And then we're like, okay, why is that the case? So I used a regression analysis to see the relationship between attack encounters and all these country measures. And here the regression analysis coefficients are standardized, which allows for a fair comparison across the different coefficients. So what we see here is that the main factor that has a relationship with attack encounters is ICT, it's attack attractiveness. So basically, if you want to steal somebody's wallet, you go after a rich person. You don't steal a poor person's wallet. And this is exactly what we see here. It was very surprising to see that exposure to web, variation in the global variation in the global exposure to web attacks does not have a relationship with the amount of time people are spending on the web. The coefficient 0, it's not significant. So I was really surprised, and they tried other measures, like the number of top-level domains these people are visiting. Still not significant. So just to kind of illustrate how this attack targeting works, I'm giving the example here of the pay-per-install business model. So cyber criminals have their own business model too. So here in that business model we find clients. The clients are the criminals that have some malware that they want to disseminate. For example, this can be the people who actually wrote the malware. They're also the pay-per-install providers. So these people are specialized in having these distribution networks. You can give them malware and they will distribute it for you. And they will charge you, depending on what they did for you, right? So they will charge you, the amount of money they will charge you depends on where you want your malware to be disseminated. So if you want your malware to be in the US or UK, in this high demand region, it can cost up to $100 or $180 per 1,000 computers. If you go to some Asian countries that are in less demand, the price can be as low as $7 to $8 per 1,000 computers. So malware authors are actually interested in targeting, I want infected machines here or there. Don't just care about the number of infected machines. Okay? So now we're done with attacking countries. Okay, so let's explain this. Now we're going to look at attack hosting. And I will remind that again. By attack hosting, I mean the fact that computers are hosting and launching attacks. This is not where the actual cyber criminals are. I have no data about that. So what we can see is Eastern Europe is the main attack hosting region. So the shades of red might not look that different on the projector, but these are actually on a log scale, which means their countries are hosting orders of magnitude more attacks than the rest of the world. North America and Western Europe are actually active attack hosting regions. China is an active attack hosting region, but it's not the top one. So we keep hearing the news, China, China, China. China is very active on this high-profile cyber espionage attacks, but it's not the top hosting country when it comes to actually having machines hosting attacks. Another surprising fact is that actually Africa is not hosting a lot of attacks, and that was surprising because Africa has such a bad security reputation because of all the scam activities coming from like Nigeria and things like that. And again, this is different. People tend to kind of put everything together in their mind. So there may be a lot of scam activities coming from people in Africa sending these crafted scam messages. But when it comes to computers hosting and launching attacks, Africa is actually very low. So again, let's look at what's happening. Again, the regression analysis, coefficients, kind of standardized. So what we see here is that the main factor that we see, like in Eastern Europe, is a combination of a decent computing infrastructure and widespread corruption. The coefficients are huge. I mean, the reason why the coefficient of this ICT times bribe is negative is again because the bribes indicator is low and there's a lot of corruption. Not surprisingly, we see that the more attacks computers encounter, the more likely that this computer becomes infected and to start launching attacks. And again, I like to give an example about a concrete example about how this attack hosting is related to corruption. So here I'm giving the example of the Russian business network. I don't know if you've heard of it, it's a bit old by now. It was a malicious internet service provider that hosted spam, phishing, malware, child pornography, all the nasty stuff. According to some estimates, that single organization was responsible of 60% of worldwide internet crime. So maybe that's too much. Maybe it's not 60, maybe it's 40, maybe it's 20. But even if it's one organization responsible of 20% of the whole world crime, that's a lot. So how could they do that? So according to some people, the RBN founder and leader was the nephew of a prominent Russian politician, which means the guy could do anything he wanted and nobody would say a thing. Okay, so that with the analysis. I just want to tell you that in the talk I just showed the highlight. There is more in the paper, so I did some analysis for fake applications, fake antiviruses, for exploits. I also tested for the effect of international political relations on this attack in countries and hosting, but they did not turn out to be significant. I did not show that in the talk, but they're on the paper. So related work, of course there is related work. So related work looks at the relationship between malware encounters and countries' characteristics. You may use telemetry data, Symantec or Microsoft. But that previous work looks at malware and not at network attacks, like here in the paper. And it mainly focuses on encounters, not hosting of malware. We find also work that examines the relationship between malware encounters and user behavior. That work has a different granularity than this work. It looks at the user level and not the country level. And therefore, it does not, well, from an opinion, does not provide an opportunity to reduce attacks at a larger scale. It's very hard to kind of change user behavior. Finally, we find work that examines the relationship between spam hosting and countries' characteristics, but it's not about network attack hosting or other things. So of course the work has limitations. So one of the limitations is related to semantic data, which only covers data detected by semantic customers. So the high-profile attackers are not detected, are not covered in this analysis. And it only covers attacker computers that interact directly with the victim computers. There is usually a whole chain of attacker computers that are not included in the data. The data is starting to be a bit old. So in the future, it would be interesting to complement it with other data, like Microsoft telemetry or other AD telemetry. Some of the measures are actually also difficult to measure, like all the social, technological factors, some of them are measured. Like for security expertise, I used the existence of security institutions. That's not a perfect measure of how good people are at cybersecurity in the country. So there are some newer measures that just came out of like security expertise in a country. It should be interesting to use those. And finally here, I only did a geographic analysis. So I took this kind of 2 years of data and averaged this kind of, it should be interesting to see how these things change over time and over space. So as a conclusion, in this work, the goal was to kind of identify the social and technological factors that cause countries to foster attacks, because that's provide an opportunity to alter these factors through policy actions. This will reduce cybercrime in these countries and has a global benefit. The approach we used here is empirical hypothesis testing, and the main findings are that developed countries are the main target of these network attacks, mainly because attackers want to take advantage of these resources. Eastern European countries host orders of magnitude more attacks than the rest of the world. And this is because of a combination of widespread corruption and decent computing infrastructure. So the policy actions is that it's important to crack down on these corrupt individuals and institutions that encourage crime. Well, these countries may not see an incentive to act because cybercrime they're hosting is affecting other countries. They're not affecting them. But if they're not careful, what may end up happening to them is that entire blocks of IP addresses of these countries might become blocked just because it happened with sub-Saharan Africa. Because of all the scams coming from Africa, a lot of websites around the world block any internet traffic coming out of these countries. So if those go through the is bad, that may end up happening to them. And then, there are tons of nice people in these countries that may end up suffering because of this business. And you encourage that this should be done through soft power, not economic sanctions, not war or anything, just kind of soft power. So, just to kind of give this analogy, it's really this hand-waving analogy here. So the main current approach in cybersecurity is defensive. We assume there are people attacking us, and we try to defend ourselves against them. Let's have these better firewalls, antiviruses. What I'm preaching for here is to go to something more proactive. Like, let's reduce attacks at the source. Let's alter what makes an environment fostering cybercrime. So in malaria, the defensive initial approach was this bed nets, sprays, but the approach that really could get rid of malaria was going to these water swamps where the mosquitoes were breeding, drying them, and that's how a lot of regions got get rid of malaria. Okay, so I'll end up with this and I'll take any questions. Thank you very much.